What's up, core reporters? Welcome back to my channel. I am ready to recap that episode of Teen Mom Next Chapter. This is not the most recent. This is just before it because remember, I went away to Barcelona for a week with friends. It was a nightmare trip. You can just sign up for my channel membership if you want to know all the nitty-gritty details about that, but I digress. Let's catch back up with this show, starting with The Line in the Sand. Don't forget, I do watch Teen Mom Family Reunion using Philo, and I have an affiliate link in the description box of this video if you too would like to sign up for a free trial of Philo to watch all of your favorite shows online, okay? So at the top of the episode, Cory comforts Taylor, who had run off in the last episode at the end of it, crying because this man does not want to marry her 2 biological kids later and 1 step kid later, right? And she's just still boo-hoo-hooing about it. And she's talking about how embarrassing it is that all these other men are able to commit in less time than they've even been together. And it just feels really bad. But again, girl, you should not have popped out those kids for him without the commitment if that is important for you. There are some women who are okay with just being, the baby mama. But if you want to be the wifey, you got to play the wifey game, child. And you, unfortunately, you showed all your cards. And so now the ball is in his court. And you even gave those kids his last name. Ooh, child. Anyway, she says that she's even embarrassed to go to the grocery store with 3 kids and no ring. And then Cory's like, what if I got you a promise ring? She's like, what am I, 12? Oh my God, this is all so crazy. I do have to say though that when she read the grocery store comment, it kind of felt like she's just embarrassed about the situation and like how it looks to the outside world. So then I kind of go, okay, well, is it like an internal thing? Like this means something to her internally, or is it to help like with, like for public perception and not just looking like, like she's just popping out kids for this random man? I don't know. I think that's something that she should unpack during her own therapy session. Next, we've got Leah. Like the rest of the gang is talking about that whole entire ordeal. And Leah's like, like waiting 6 years for a ring is a bit long. And it's true, right? Especially at, their ages. But I still have to laugh because I think both of Leah's marriages combined did not even last. I'm sure both of her marriages combined did not even last 6 years, the length of this relationship. She was married, divorced, single, then married and divorced again, but, and in a span of time that these two were together. And I find that to be rather funny. So I think maybe find a middle ground between Leah, Russia marriage messer, and Taylor begged for a ring, whatever her last name is, Selfridge, I think. And not only that, but Leah also got engaged for a 3rd time, and then that engagement broke up while these two are still together. So it just made me laugh. Now, Cory actually decides that, okay, well, this is clearly a problem in my relationship, so I do need to seek help about it. So let me reach out to the therapist, Micaiah, to discuss what all of this is and why I've got so much apprehension towards marrying someone that I've been with for the better part of a decade, right? And so basically, he says that he wants to marry Taylor. He's planned out the proposal and everything like that, but he just can't bring himself to pull the trigger. And he's trying to tell this to Taylor, but he doesn't feel like Taylor believes him. But honestly, if I were Taylor, I wouldn't believe him either after all these years. I've told you guys before, but I have a friend like this. He's been with his girlfriend for about the same amount of time. And he's been promising a proposal since like 2-3 years in, and they're 6 years in now at this point. And I will say that he's not lying, okay, because he has called me as one of his best friends to talk about this a couple of times. There was a time where he was so close to doing it, but he is someone who wants to do everything like super big, super grand, super expensive, right? I can't spill all the tea. Listen, come join me in my channel membership section. I have to write this down, but I'm going to spill the tea on that over there, okay? Because I've got some more to talk about, but I don't want it to be, super public or anything like that. But yes, we'll talk about, like these, why sometimes a guy will string you along and how sometimes you have a part to play in it, because my friend's girlfriend has a part to play in the reason why he hasn't proposed yet. Spoiler alert. Cory also says that he's never been around a successful marriage, and his dad had like 5 baby mamas and was in jail for the majority of his childhood as well. So he never really had like this father figure either. And then the therapist, Micaiah, said something that was super profound to me, which was, listen, okay, you didn't have a father figure, but look at you kicking ass as a dad on your own. Why don't you do what you're doing there in fatherhood within like, marriage as a husband? Like you clearly know how to set the stage for yourself. So like trust yourself. And I thought that was wonderful. And I feel like it did click for him. And I think that that's something that can push him towards actually pulling the trigger and proposing to Taylor eventually. Well, hopefully not eventually, but like now or like yesterday. And then he complains that in his relationship with Taylor, he's not being loved the way that he wants to be loved. He wants more quality time with Taylor and he wants to have fun with Taylor. Everything basically is just about kids, being teammates, co-parents and whatnot. And so it's just not like hot. It's not sexy to him. He wants more of that fun, which I can understand. These kids are, but like, it's also unfair because these kids are young, right? One of them is still like an infant almost. Where's it, a toddler? She's not walking yet at this point, I don't think. And she was having so many health issues. And his eldest daughter has health issues and stuff like that. There's so much going on that is really heavy, touchy, and life and death in their lives. So of course things are not going to be sunshine, fairy tales, and fun. And Taylor has already said, and Cory did not dispute it, that she takes on the majority of the parenting. So why don't you step up a little bit more so that it's equal and that she's able to have fun with you? Like, you can't have her do everything and then be like, oh, why aren't you fun? Like, oh, you know what that reminds me of? I told this in my membership section, and on Instagram as well, but there's this guy who like asked me on a date. I met him when I was doing my salsa classes. And we go on a date, and during this date, he lets me know that he's married with like 3 kids. And then he complains about his like wife and how she's not fun. And he's like showing me all like, and before he even told me he was married, he's showing me all his travels, like around the world, this, that, and the other. I thought this was a single guy, the way I'm a single girl, and able to do this stuff. And he's like, yeah, like I have a wife. She's so boring. I want to leave her. And he's got like these 3 like young kids. I'm like, oh, of course she's boring. She's stuck like raising all these kids while you're out here thotting and bopping around the world. Like, what are you doing on a date with me? Ew, like, that was wild, you guys. There's a lot of weirdos out here, but I digress. So then the therapist says, okay, well, why don't you recalibrate the way you think about like boringness and stuff like that? Maybe like what you consider boring is actually safety, maybe it's commitment. And again, I thought that was a wonderful way of kind of changing his perspective, right? Because it is important to redefine certain things within like your life and within your relationship and your perspectives and stuff. So she gives really great advice. I really like her so far. Cory then says he doesn't want Taylor to leave him because of the kids. He's like, like everything with the kids, like that would be so like brutal. And I'm like, oh, not because you love her and you never want to lose her, but because of the kids. All right. So at this point, it really does feel like he's just writing this out for the kids. And I find that to be very sad. So after this session, Cory goes back to the villa and convinces Taylor to wait another 6 years for a proposal. He doesn't exactly say 6 years, but he's like, look, I'm making progress. It's coming. Don't worry. Yeah, sure. Now, okay. Then we get like this kind of scene that was really strange. So, Kayla, how she's got that like boyfriend who cheats on her. Well, Tyler starts talking about how his nipples are hurting because that man just like came up to him and twisted them. I was like, what? That is so weird. That is so, so weird. Then all the guys start talking about how he just does that to them. Like, his name is Ryan, by the way. He just comes up to them and he twists their nipples. And I'm like, I didn't want to say it before, but he was giving fruity, to be honest with you. But like, even still, this is a weird way to behave. It's giving like, not even like high school, it's giving middle school, like very, very strange, very off-putting. Kayla, you need to keep an eye on that man. Anyway, the group then talks about their relationship issues with another therapist. I forgot his name. And Brianna talks about her daddy issues leading to her train wreck relationships and her promiscuity. Then she opens up about something that's very, very deep and very troubling. So definitely know that there's a trigger warning for this. But Bri has never told anybody in her family. The first time she ever opens up about it is right here, right now on this show to say that she was molested as a child. And it appears to be someone in her family because she says she will never reveal who it is because it would tear the family apart. And I'm like, whoa. That is really scary stuff. That's a heavy, heavy, heavy secret to carry. And, I feel devastated for her that like she went through that. And then on top of that, she has to protect this person by hiding, their identity. And that really, really sucks. She also says that she never felt like loved enough or or that she felt neglected as a child as well. And so that makes me really sad. I wonder if it's because, the fighting she talked about between her mom and her dad and everything like that. Maybe her parents were working super hard in order to make ends meet and therefore didn't really have time to be super present. Like, it's all just really sad. And the heavy topics do not stop there, because next up, Kayla talks about being, again, trigger warning, but she talks about being raped at 15 years old and subsequently, and sorry, not Kayla, Kaya talks about it at 15 years old and how like she hates men ever since. And it makes me sad. Then you got Taylor, who talks about CSA and like, the divorce is like taking their toll on her. And again, I keep thinking about this because I'm 30 years old, you guys. And like, when I'm dating, a lot of like, guys these days, they want to have kids and they're asking these questions. And I'm like, this world is so ugly. Like, do you see like what happens to women and girls? Like, look at this room full of them, and pretty much all of them have this in like their history. Like, this has happened to them. They've been victimized. And you've got Tyler, who's been victimized. And like, it's such an ugly world. It really, really scares me, to be honest with you guys. It's just, it's really heavy, and it scares me too much, to be honest with you guys. It really, 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 really scares me. Love kids and everything like that, but just seeing how ugly the world is and how prevalent this stuff is, it is scary, okay? And then Tyler talks about his suicide attempt when he was 11 years old and how Caitlin makes him, saves him every day and makes him feel like he is like worthy to be alive and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is some really, really deep, really, really heavy stuff. And so, it was hard to digest, to be honest with you, but kudos to all of these people for moving past this the best way that they can and spreading awareness as well to help other people know that they are not alone if they too have experienced the same or similar things. After the session, it's a little bit later in the day or the evening, and the single ladies, Brie, Kaya, and Leah, all decide that they want to go out and get the freak on, which I thought was great. But as they go, Leah talks about like being celibate for the past year or year and a half or something like that, which I think is amazing. I did that too, and I loved it. It's actually very, very easy. I went through a phase here. I would say it was last year. Yeah, I think it was last year or the year before. It was like a year and a half for me, I think. And it was so easy because I was so disgusted by men. Like, here in Paris, because I know a lot of people go, oh, like men don't approach in real life. Men don't approach. Here in Paris, they do. Everywhere you go, men like approach you. It doesn't matter what you're doing, where you're at, they will approach you. And most of the time, they are such like good for nothing people. Like, they'll just like the amount of times like a guy will just like low-key ask you to hook up with them and you don't even know them. And like you just met them or you just did a first date with them or something. And you're like, why would I? I don't even know you, I got so disgusted after that kept happening. I was like, you guys are dirty. You guys are filthy. You guys are nasty. I don't even want to talk to you. I don't want anything to do with you, So that was great until I met this gorgeous, gorgeous Turkish man at a destination wedding. And we kept in touch it was in September, and we kept in touch for months and months and months. Then when I went back to Turkey in January, she got her freak on. So anyway, TMI, but whatever. So anyway, I say all that to say that celibacy is amazing, to be honest with you. Then I went right on back to being celibate. By the way, I just want to say that Kaya has lost so much weight. Like, you can tell she's really all about her fitness. Her face is so chiseled. Her body is banging. Like, good for her. She has been taking amazing care of herself. Now, they're out dancing and everything like that, and they meet this gorgeous Colombian man. And poor Brianna, like, she's like a Puerto Rican girl living in Florida of all places, and she doesn't speak a lick of Spanish. I'm like, how is that possible, girl? And she met like a hot man. Like, her guy was the hottest of the group, but like they couldn't like communicate because he didn't speak English and she didn't speak Spanish. And so they were doing their Google Translate and stuff, which was so cute and so funny. I went through it. I talked about this as well with my channel membership when I was talking about the Turkish guy. But like, yeah, he didn't speak a word of like, English, like anything, And so I was like, okay, well, we're going to Google Translate this. So that's what we did. At the wedding, his friend was like doing the traduction. He was doing the translating. And then like when we did our date the day after, it was just Google Translate. We were sitting next to each other. Google Translate. Oh. It's honestly, if the guy is gorgeous enough, it is worth it. And I feel like everyone should have that at least once. It's just like a fun, completely different thing, And then she blames her parents for not teaching her Spanish. But listen, you can learn a language anytime, any age on your own. I am telling you, it's actually not even that hard, and it actually does not even take all that long. Seriously, especially Spanish. Spanish is a very, very easy language to learn. She could totally, totally do it. So I do encourage her, if she's serious about it, to go ahead and look into finding a system to learn. My system is using Pimsleur, then watching a lot of Netflix in, that language. I did that for French. I did that for Spanish, fluent in the two of them, although not perfect yet in Spanish. It's still lower than my French, but I did that. And it only took 6 months to a year, So totally. And she could even get a tutor. She could even get a nanny who only speaks Spanish. By the way, Kale talked about this on her recent podcast episode. I believe it was Coffee Combos, how she has a nanny in the home that exclusively speaks in Spanish. So now Rio only speaks in Spanish. Well, he speaks English as well, but Spanish is his dominant language. Brie, you can totally do it. And I really do encourage you to do it because, this is a part of your heritage, get into it, girl. And then, things get a little bit nasty though when they get back to the home and they're at the pool in the home. And what happens? They start talking about, do you eat butt? And she's she's saying it loudly in the thing, and she shows it to him, and he's like, yeah, I love it. I was like, why are you talking about this to a man you don't even know you're about to have a one-night stand with in front of everybody? And I'm like, bro, weren't you just crying about being a hoe? You were like, oh my God, my daddy issues caused me to be a hoe. Well, what are you doing? I thought she was trying to clean it up a little bit. That was really disgusting to me, to be honest with you. Nothing wrong with a one-night stand if that's what you want to do, but to be this vulgar in front of everybody, in front of the camera, especially as a mother, I didn't like that, to be honest with you. I felt like that was super duper trashy. And then we see them in bed right out of the pool. She's still in her bathing suit, I think. And they didn't shower. And this man's gonna eat your chlorine-filled ass. Oh, I could throw up. That was disgusting, you guys. Truly was disgusting. And then Kaya went. She's like, oh, are they hooking up? She went to listen in. I was like, girl, then that's disgusting too. Get a life. That's so freaking weird. You know what that reminded me of? Leah Messer, in her book, she talked about when she was a child, her mom had her lose her virginity to this guy. By playing some kind of game where it was a dare, and she locked them in the room, and then she listened in until it was done. A little bit of privacy, please. Very disgusting. What a note to leave off on. Anyway, guys, that was your recap of what went down on Teen Mom Family Reunion. The episode was entitled Line in the Sand. Let me know what you felt about it. There's a lot that went down, so I definitely do want to know all of your thoughts and your opinions about the episode. Don't forget, I do have an affiliate link if you too would like to watch this show and many others using Philo. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.